wanted to do a video. I want to give credit to tailors on board an narrowboat. Where are we? Tailors aboard an narrowboat. He's done an excellent job, actually, covering this Whitchurch narrowboat disaster. He's made many videos about it, but you know, there's such a lot of speculation about how this happened. Now, I put a link in the description. There's a terminology. It's actually common knowledge with a lot of people. In some countries, I'll just play this. In some countries, it is illegal to actually plant trees on a narrow embankment, and the reasons are quite obvious to most people when you do study what happens with a tree root system. The tree roots are renowned for causing a very narrow embankment to basically become unstable. Now, when I look at this footage of this embankment between the actual canal and the field, which is now flooded, I can see straight away, just by looking at this, that this particular embankment was too weak. It wasn't sustained, it wasn't compressed enough, it wasn't wide enough. That's the most important aspect, is it's not wide enough to support trees. Now, I'll explain how you can test this theory. Well, it's not theory, this fact. I'll tell you how you can test this. If you get some, doesn't matter what it is, but if you get some straws, right, and you make a small dam in your garden, right, just get some soil, press it up, make a tiny little dam structure, stick some ordinary drinking straws in it, and then pretend that the drinking straws are the trees, right? And you just move the drinking straws around a little bit, like they're blowing in the wind. What's going to happen to that small dam that you made is it's going to wiggle about, it's going to move around, and you're going to start to see that the actual structure that you made is starting to crumble around the edges. Now, if it's compressed clay, you're going to be okay. It's going to be fairly stable. But once it gets too wet, once it gets too saturated with water and rainfall, there's a thing called liquefaction. Liquefaction is generally caused by the movement or rapid movement of the earth. Now, let's go back to a few months ago. There was an earth tremor. There was actually an earth tremor not long ago. Now, I don't think it was in this particular region, but those earth tremors are very well known to cause liquefaction. But liquefaction can also occur from slow frequencies, as in slow movement of a tree blowing in high winds. Now, if you look at this picture very carefully, you'll notice that there's very few structures, buildings around this area. It's like a big wind tunnel, and the only thing stopping that wind is the trees. So they're going to be the first things that are going to get hit by that strong wind. We have had some very strong winds, gale force winds, a few months ago, which will have weakened the structure to the point where once we had that excessive amount of rainfall, that was the final straw, literally the final straw, which basically breached and caused the Embankments Canal breach to take place, because the structure of that embankment was already weakened because it's narrow. There's some pretty big trees on there. The bigger the trees are, you would think, oh, the stronger they are, right? They've got more roots. Well, that's the problem. There's more roots in that embankment than there is embankment to support the root system, right? Which means that it's going to break. The trees on the opposite side, on the left hand side, looking at this image, it's got a very substantial network of trees in there, but most of them are very small trees. There's 2 large trees there, but there's a much wider dam area on the left-hand side than there is on the right-hand side. The right-hand side looks very, very, what's the word? Primitive? Looks very weak. I mean, the part that you look at that's collapsed, I'm not on about that. If you look further up, the part that has not collapsed, I'm talking about up here, you can see this is very, very narrow. This is a weak point, but there's no trees there, right? This didn't breach because there's no trees moving around on that section, unless they removed a tree, which is possible that they did. But when you look down here, there was one particularly large tree here, which has actually fell down. It came down. And that tree, I suspected, was the cause of this breach. Because you have to look at what happens with roots in a tree structure, in a clay structure, right? The tree roots are looking for water. They will grow towards wherever the wet parts are, they will grow towards it, and they will create a void. Roots don't grow in a straight line. They zigzag, you know. And I don't know if you ever watched stop animation, but when you see plants growing, dude, they're not perfectly still. They wiggle a little bit. They actually wiggle a little bit. So the roots are wiggling a little bit because they're trying to find the way to the water. They actually move very slightly. Now, I'm going to see if I can find something on, well, I could do that, but you can do it yourself. But basically, if you go and do, let's do a search. Stop motion, time lapse. Let's see, plants growth. How do you spell it? Oh, no. It's shit. Where is it? Yeah, WTH growth. Right, let's have a look for that. Right, 384 days in 8 minutes. Right, let's look at this, because this shows you what happens when plants are actually growing. It's speeded up. Now let's look at this. Now we're actually talking about tree roots. Now look at this growth. Now look at how they wiggle about as they're growing. They're not growing in a straight line. They move around. And the roots also do the same thing, because they're looking for water, right? Let's watch this, continue watching. The soil is constantly moving over a period of time. It's very slow movement. The tree, they almost look like they're alive. Well, they are alive, but they just move so slowly. Now, if you imagine that over a long period of time, over decades, years. Now look at the roots. Look how the roots. Look at the roots of this plant. That's just an ordinary plant. And some roots die off. And when they die off, they leave voids where water can pass through and cause a breach. But trees, they'll live for hundreds of years unless something kills them off. But everything moves. And when you get a tree structure that's very old, the older the tree, the more stiff and more brittle the wood becomes, and the more likely it is to bend in the wind and cause the roots to move underground at the same time while it's moving. And that is why you don't want trees on a very narrow embankment. They're okay on a wide, if you've got a really wide dam, that's fine. But this wasn't a wide dam. This was very narrow. So this is just a typical example. I'll try and put the link in the description of this live stream I'm doing right now. Now, there's so many people out there who just need to do some research. Find out what happens with trees. You know. Now, let's do some more research. Right. let's ask a question. Why are trees not allowed on narrow dam is it structures? Let's try and see if that's the right word. Uncontrolled vegetation on and around dams can hinder. Right, look at this. Let's look at this. See what this. Oh shit! I opened a new window. I want to open a new tab. Open a new tab. Uncontrolled vegetation on and around dams can hinder inspection and lead to serious structural damage, significant maintenance costs, and possible failure. There you go. There's your answer. So you can go read that too. I'll put the link in the description at some point. Uncontrolled vegetation on and around dams can hinder inspection and lead to serious structural damage, significant maintenance costs, and possible failure. There you go. That's your answer. That's why they don't want large trees on narrow embankments. And there's all this speculation going on about what caused this breach. There's your answer. Thank you for watching.